All right, Maya, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Friday, June 4th meeting of the Westwood School Building Committee. I am going to start with a roll call attendance. I think Ken cannot join us this morning. Brian Baer.
Here.
Allison cannot join. Chris Coleman.
Here.
Sarah cannot join. John Cummings.
Here.
Charlie Donahue. I know you're here, Charlie.
Here.
There you go. Pam Dukeman.
Here.
Mary Kate Ferreira. Mary Kate. I can see you.
Here.
There we go. Okay. Jen Flanders.
Here.
Abby Hanscom.
Here.
Lemma Jn-baptiste.
Here.
Josepha Jowdy.
Here.
Carol Lewis.
Here.
Michelle Miller cannot join us. Tony Mullen.
Here.
Emily Parks.
Here.
Amanda Phillips.
Here.
And Mike Walsh.
Here.
Great. Thank you. Again, welcome. Right now, I'd like to recognize the live stream to provide real-time public access to the activities of the School Building Committee, which is available online at www.westwood.k12.ma.us/live. And this meeting is also being recorded for later broadcast on Westwood Media Center's platforms. And as always, we are very grateful to Westwood Media Center for everything they do for our town. So jumping right in, the only thing on my update is I just wanted to talk a little about the state of emergency expiration. I'm sure we've all been hearing in the news. So I think the state of emergency is scheduled to expire on June 15th. However, the governor has extended this, the virtual meeting exception, the open public meetings exceptions through September 1st. So, and I think that Westwood Media Center has also requested a few months to be able to sort of go back to in-person meetings. So I think for the summer, and John, that's correct, right? John Cianciarulo, that hasn't changed.
Correct. There's been no change.
Okay. I know that things change quickly around here. So, so I think for July and August, we will, I don't even know if we have an August meeting, but we will continue to meet remotely, but it's starting in September, we will likely have to be back in person. So I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar. But I think the July and August meetings, as I said, will continue to be over Zoom. I'm not sure what that does for public participation, whether that in September that has to be in person as well. So I think they're still working those kinks out. So more information to come as we get it. But that's what the current schedule looks like in terms of meetings. All right, moving into discussion items. The first thing that we wanted to talk about is the project scope and budget agreement, because there is a vote on this today. Basically, this is the MSB, as we mentioned last meeting, at their April board meeting, the MSBA approved Westwood's grant of an amount about not to exceed 18.2 million. Which is fabulous. And the way they document this agreement is through something called the Project Scope and Budget Agreement. And basically it's a written agreement between the MSBA and the town of Westwood. And it says that the schematic design we submitted and the project budget that we submitted are what has been agreed to by the parties. And that the MSBA has voted the 18.2 million, up to the reimbursement of up to 18.2 million, including contingencies. And it's just it's really this sort of step one of how to get the funding. Step two clearly will be in the fall when we go to town meeting. And if the town votes in favor of this project, then we move to what's called the project funding agreement. That's actually the agreement where they say, okay, the town has taken all the necessary votes to fund the project. We are now going to agree to, start the reimbursements for the project. So this is step one, which is just, again, the project scope and the project budget that the town has presented to the MSBA are what the parties agree to. The town does need to sign this agreement and send it back to the MSBA. So the SBC will be voting on that later on in this meeting. The select board is also going to have a vote. I think it's scheduled for Monday. Once those votes are taken, the town will sign off on the project scope and budget agreement, and we will submit that to the MSBA. So this is a procedural thing. I just wanted to make everyone aware of it, particularly given the vote Are there any questions? We of course have the project scope and budget agreement. If anybody, I don't think we link to it, but it basically says what I just said. So if anybody would like to read it, we're happy to share it. But otherwise, oh, Brian.
I was just wondering if has this agreement been or need to be reviewed by the town and town council and stuff before this vote or afterwards? Has it been reviewed?
It's been reviewed, and town council has looked at it, and we've looked at the certifications that the town will be signing. We actually had a meeting with the MSBA to go through the certifications with town council and MSBA council. So I think Chris Coleman, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think everybody at this point is on board with the paperwork. And so this vote and then the select board vote on Monday will be able to move this procedural, the document forward.
That's correct.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, so we'll just get to that vote when we get to the action items. So our second discussion item, I'm going to turn this over to Rob. Basically, he's going to just present the site plan and the floor plans to us one more time. Because we're moving into design development, you know, this is sort of a last chance to make comments on what these look like. Clearly, we'll be tweaking them, but tweaking does not mean, you know, moving things around. It's really, well, you know, I'm going to let Rob explain it, but that's what we're doing next.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all again. So today should be fairly brief. As Maya mentioned, first we're going to just give you an update on what we've been doing. So over the last number of weeks, we've been meeting with a number of faculty and staff. We've had several meetings already, and we have other ones planned over the next week or so. We just met with all the technology group, instructors and coaches and facilities director, or I should say district director of technology. We met with 4 students yesterday, 3 of them from Deerfield, 1 from Hanlon, and had an outstanding session with students yesterday, and I'll get into that a little bit more later. We'll be meeting with the sustainability subcommittee, the kitchen, and custodial maintenance groups. And then we are also going to be scheduling meetings coming up with the aesthetics subcommittee, go over interiors, and an update on the exterior of the building. We'll be meeting and setting up a meeting with the building systems subcommittee, go over all the HVAC, electrical, plumbing, security systems in the building. We'll also be scheduling meetings with the site and outdoor design subcommittee and bringing in any local groups that will want to be part of that discussion, any stakeholders in the site and outdoor design portion of the project. And we'll also be meeting with the police, fire, building inspector, Department of Health. And then later in July, we'll be providing a progress review with the school building committee again at your next meeting. We'll meet again with the aesthetics subcommittee, finalize interior and exterior components of the project. Do a preliminary review with the land use committee. We've actually met with the Concom, just a preview with the Concom agent as well as Nora, and just to kind of go over the permitting process. But we'll meet with them at the end of July. And then in August, we would like to reach back out to the abutters and the neighborhood community, go over the project again with them. And then we'll be submitting 100% the design development set to cost estimators for pricing. And then in September, at your September meeting, we'll be looking to get authorization for design development package to submit to the MSBA. let me go back one second. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about any of the schedule before I move on.
I just have one question, Rob. And the meeting in August with the neighborhood community, does that allow you enough time to implement any important input before moving on?
Yeah, I mean, we've met with them before and got some really good feedback from them. And so this is kind of a follow-up. And so that's why we'll be wanting to meet with them first. And then any other comments we get from them, we can certainly include into the design development set before we issue it to the cost estimators.
Okay, great.
Hey, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing as it's the middle of August and we're gonna have the meeting, is there a way for people that are away to be able to add comments or listen in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're still planning to be remote and have remote meetings at that time. So we can certainly share, and plan for a meeting to try and get as many people as we can that want to be involved.
Okay, because sometimes it looks more like a ghost town than a vibrant community in August versus September or June.
Yeah, this will still be remote. So hopefully, even if people are down the Cape or wherever they are, they can remote in, log in.
Outstanding.
Hey, Rob.
Thanks, John.
Yes.
When we spoke at a previous meeting about the stakeholder meetings, we had talked about CPAC being included. So I just wanted to make sure that they were still kind of on the table. Maybe, that would be a good group to include with the Disability Commission.
Yeah.
And if you need an introduction, I'm happy to connect you to the head of CPAC.
Yeah. We just need to get a list of whoever we need to, if someone wants to provide names and emails, and contact information of who we want to include in the various meetings, happy to include them.
Yeah, Rob, I'm working on that list. So I think you had sent me an email this past week with all of the meetings. So I'm going through that email and we'll make sure it's comprehensive. And to Amanda's point, CPAC will definitely be on it.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's a lot of groups, and so I just put on there the ones that I could remember. So, anything else on the schedule?
No, I would just ask if we could, I know there's some subcommittees, I think I'm on the outside one, if we could get these on the calendar sooner rather than later. I mean, to John's point, people going to start I know you can still get people on email and stuff. It's just people, I prefer not to have vacation occupied. A lot of people don't want to have vacation occupied by subcommittee meetings. So
yeah, and Tony, we're going to get those out at the beginning of this week.
Okay, great.
This is on my end. As I said, Rob sent me a very comprehensive list of all the meetings we need to have. I'm just going through that list to make sure we've got everybody, but the subcommittees and the timing are on that list.
All right,
so
great. Thank you.
I'm going to be working with John. So sorry about that. I know we're getting there. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
So next, I just want to kind of give you a little snapshot. So yesterday we had this great session with students and was just blown away by the feedback that we got from these fifth graders. Just very thoughtful and outspoken and just really good responses. So we had a number of questions. We spent a little over an hour with them. But one of the questions, we did a little Mentimeter activity with them with a couple questions, asking them, if you were to design an elementary school, what kinds of things, would you want to see, or how would it feel, when you entered into the building, thinking of yourself also as a young, kindergartner or first grader coming into the school. And so these were their responses, and a lot of colorful, fun, safe. We had asked them, since they were fifth graders, about were they excited to go to middle school next year, and a lot of them said, they give this sort of signal, right? And we're like, well, what's going on? And they said, well, it seems kind of big, you know, and so one of their other comments following up from that was, you know, it's kind of nice to have a medium-sized school, you know, because it kind of provides a sort of transition of, you know, to a larger school later on. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. And then another question we had was, you know, what types of things would you like to do? You know, would you like to do at recess? And then we had some good discussion around that. And so we had asked them for their top three choices. And so, you know, basketball pavement play was on everyone's list, followed by rope swings and slides and the grassy free play area, with also nature-inspired obstacles. And while, you know, these didn't get any votes, you know, they did talk about gardening, and that it would be nice to have kind of a raised planter bed type thing. And so, you know, we'll be typing up all the notes from that session, and we can share that out. It was just, I really enjoyed it quite a bit. And so I wanted to offer this opportunity to the school building committee to, you know, if there's anything, you know, while we're in the design development phase, if there's anything about the site or the building that maybe that's been on your mind that you want to make sure that we, you know, look into, that, you know, want to just offer this opportunity. I'll just open it up to the group. If there's anything that you can think of, we just want to make sure we follow up on that.
Well, I think someone from soccer is going to talk to you, and I know Little League. I think it's just making sure that 11v11 is really an 11v11, because making sure that size, we can maximize the size of that site, but that's.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely get into that when we meet.
The one thing about the soccer field, I know that when we have soccer games, you know, the teams are on one side and the parent spectators are on the other side. And just looking at this, you know, I know there's a line of trees there. Is there going to be enough room on both sides to utilize both sides for those kinds of, for watching?
Okay, yeah.
And then Little League too, we just want to make sure that there's, you know, the parents, when they go to watch the game, have somewhere to sit or put their chairs, or that's not, I guess, on this, you know, typically they're sitting in the outfield, but it looks like, you know, sort of behind the outfield or along the sides, but the outfield is the driveway. So just thinking about that.
Mm-hmm. Making sure we have places allocated for where the parents will watch the game.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need bleachers,
Right.
but sort of, you know, somewhere on the plan where we know, okay, this is where the parents can set up chairs and watch the game.
Yeah. I think in this sort of situation, most of that will happen, like for the soccer field, will be on this side, you know, maybe a group of parents
right
on this side for one team and this side for the other team.
And as long as the teams can be on the other side of that field, that's fine.
Right. Yep. Okay.
Hey, Robert, it's Ken. On the ends of the soccer fields, are there any type of netting to keep the balls from going out?
Over here?
Yeah, down on the ends, the goal ends.
Oh, over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our thought is that, you know, there would be some fencing along here. I guess it depends on how, you know, if you guys would like netting and how high you feel it should be, we can certainly, you know, add it.
Because I'm just looking at that, and that, you know, that is a driveway for people to go out and for somebody to be chasing a ball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rob, this is Brian. Does this plan pretty fairly represent the sort of landscaping budget, or is this, how schematic is this?
I think this is the full, you know, this is the full layout.
Okay, so there's planned to have trees along Gay Street and.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is with, because remember, we did cut that budget during value engineering. This is with the cuts?
This is the full, this is everything in.
No, this is if you include the phase 2, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Okay, so this is not what's currently in the budget.
There may be some thinning out in terms of the what's in phase 1 versus phase 2.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Could I just suggest that if it hasn't been done already,
weekend in storm frauds. Today we're near 80 with the potential for showers and storms rolling.
Can somebody mute? I think their TV might be on.
This is the potential here, and you can see how those storms start to.
Can everyone mute if you're not talking?
And they pass through.
That's Ken.
This afternoon.
Oh, Ken, can you mute?
I don't have anything on.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
What was that, Chris?
If someone could just have a conversation with DPW, because the way I'm seeing this plan, the trees would be in the sidewalk, which would be part of their sidewalk maintenance, as well as their sidewalk plowing, and that may be a problem. And also to Ken's point regarding something behind the field, my understanding is DPW is going to be maintaining these fields. Is that correct?
I think, yeah,
if that's correct. I would just suggest having a conversation with them so they have some input on what's going to be there for security, for protection of the participants, and also when they perform their maintenance.
yeah. So I think DPW is on the list of the meetings that we're having. So we will absolutely vet this with them.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mayor. So I just wanted to make sure that if in the future we decide to add more parking along the soccer field, that we didn't plant trees where the parking might go. Do you know what I'm saying? We're not that we're putting it in now. But there's a number of spots where there's no sense in putting down a tree that in 5 years, you're going to be digging it up.
You mean if we're going to add more parking, like between the 10 spots and the 12 spots?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and we can,
11, 22 kids, so.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, we have all those big lots too. We have 66 spaces and 56 spaces and.
As a coach, I can tell you I'm always in the last spot.
Yeah, I know. Well.
And is there any way we can put the dimensions on the boundaries of this? I mean, I know that there's a key in the bottom of the right, and aside from using
the dimensions of the fields, or just what dimensions of what?
Just so that people actually have, all right, so well, the tree line's there. Well, that's actually 2 feet, or that's actually 10 feet from the side of the field. So we know that the sidewalk can go in there. When you look at the trailhead up at the top right, how far it is from Laurel Lane to the first paved.
Yeah.
You know,
I think when we work with the landscape architect, we're going to have those plans in much more detail.
yeah, but that comes from the actual architect, right? All the boundaries for the plot plan.
Yeah, well, go ahead, Rob.
We can throw some dimensions in here just so at different spots, just to get a feel for.
Awesome. Thank you.
May I just one other question? Unrelated to the field, but I know we had this conversation before regarding Laura Lane and the frontage to the rest of the Shuttleworth property. Is that going to be finalized and something where we share with the select board before the design goes into effect?
So that goes back to when we're doing the perimeter plan. I think that I know Rob is working on that, but I think we decided we were going to hold off on doing that until we get the 50% estimating costs, because at that point we'll know if there's any shifts we need to make. Is that right, Rob?
Yeah, I think that was our discussion.
Yeah. So Chris, we don't have that now. I think the 50% estimate is coming in August.
Okay. So just so we're on the same page, with the understanding that Laurel Lane will still be frontage for the rest of the Shuttleworth property that's not being used by the school.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yep.
I just ask a question, Robert, Mayor. The traffic flow, is this, like, how wide is the driveway kind of coming in? Is the intent that this will be one way, or, you know?
This is 24 feet wide, so the intention is that both of these drives will be 24 feet wide.
Is that enough for two-way traffic?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I think and I'm sure we'll have our traffic expert tell us, but my guess is that the northern entrance at certain times we might limit to buses. Is that right? Or are we going to allow cars to go in there?
I think the intention is that, the buses would come in this way and that the cars would come in this way. That's not to say that, if a car is coming from this way, that they may not turn in
Okay,
here.
so we're not going to say that, but between 7 and 8:30, that's limited to buses, that entrance.
Those decisions have not been completely finalized, and the fact is that at 24 feet, that's a standard 2-lane of traffic, and so you could utilize that as two-way traffic, or you can utilize as 2-lane of one-way traffic. But that's so that we have that flexibility to make that decision or switch over whenever.
Okay, great.
Hey, Rob, Ken again, just something to keep in mind with the planting of the trees and stuff. This is New England. We do get snow, and we do need a place to pile snow, and there's some tight spaces in here that we need to plow. So I would definitely touch base with DPW on that, because they do all the plowing for the schools.
And you're saying that the trees shouldn't be in those areas?
Well, it makes it hard to pile snow.
Yeah. Well, I think this is an unrealistic look at the trees, because this is the all of the.
Yes. Yeah.
So imagine, I think, a fair number of these trees are going to disappear anyway. So we can be very strategic about where we put the trees and make sure, working with DPW, that they have snow piling areas that we can sort of designate as such, so that we don't plant anything in there, if that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll be designating these locations, so where they end up plowing, we'll want to address the surface of that, so that there's not erosion at that location either. We'll be taking care about whether it's stone or whatever the case is, to allow for filtration to occur without it being a spot where the grass gets torn up every time that the plow goes in there, that sort of thing.
Right. Is the stormwater plan already in place, Rob?
Yes.
Have you allocated an area for snow removal?
We've got placeholders in there, but that's as we are in design development now, we'll be fine tuning all of those locations and how that gets laid out. Yeah.
Hey, Rob, what are you using for curbing?
Right now in the project, we have granite curbing all, basically, from the building east.
Okay, there's no asphalt, because all that does is get dug up when they plow.
No.
Okay.
Last we talked, the sidewalks to the west of the building on this backside were asphalt. But I really don't see a need for a whole lot of curbing, back here.
Okay.
This will be pavement right up against grass. Really, all the curbing is out on the front side of the building.
Rob, this is Chris. This may not be this version, but any lights in the parking area?
Yes.
Yes.
There are lights. We don't have lights for the fields. We do have lighting that comes all along the drive and the parking, and along this sidewalk that comes up the middle.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and if anyone else has any other comments, or obviously you can email and shoot me an email with anything, any follow-up thoughts or questions, or want to make sure that we have covered. I'm going to switch over to the floor plan. Everyone's familiar with the floor plans. I just wanted to offer an opportunity here as well. If there's anything that people have questions about, or want to make sure, before we have our or continue to have our meetings with the various groups around the interior of the building. Anybody have any thoughts or questions? The next thing I'm going to go over is just to kind of show you, this is, I've got a couple examples here of some axons. So when we've been meeting with each of the different groups, the faculty and staff, this is basically what we're kind of showing them. We have an axonometric of each of the spaces to show them from different views in one direction or another. And we'll walk around the space with them, talk about the location of the casework or the furniture and the types of finishes that are being planned. And so this is just an example. So this is obviously the cafeteria, but just to give you a sense of what's being discussed and presented with faculty and staff. This is one of the things that we've done. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this level of detail, but we've shifted the location of sinks and trash to be over here. So as students come in, they can kind of wash their hands, and as they exit, they can dump out trash or recycling or compost. And we'll be going over this with kitchen and maintenance and custodial staff over the next week. But that's one aspect that one kind of slight revision that we've made that seems to work pretty well. And another view, this is a typical classroom. So this is our seat, window seat here with the really large big window. Some of the other, in another example of the level of detail we're getting into is we're looking at raising the sill height for these two other windows here so that we can give a little bit more wall space for teachers to put either additional shelving underneath it or to have maybe a little play kitchen type thing, like for the kindergartners, basically a little bit more wall space for them. So that seemed to go over pretty well with the staff, because this is a teaching wall along this side. You don't see it because we're trying to show the whole room. But this is essentially where the marker board is. Over here on this wall, this teacher's desk is actually up against the wall surface. This is where the glass opening, the sliding door, and the regular open man door is located. That gets out into the extended learning area out here. This is the small group room that's accessed between one classroom and another, and can also be accessed from the extended learning space. We've got some storage cabinets in there for student support, as well as teachers that have some shared storage between them, and a couple sinks and additional storage cabinets here. So anyway, the feedback we've been getting from everyone is they're pretty excited, as you can imagine. And then this is the extended learning space example. There's 6 of these, right? One on each wing on each floor, and so they vary a little bit between the kindergarten and first grade versus the second through 5th grade extended learning spaces, but each one is designed to have these kind of clusters of areas or zones where different types of activity can happen. So here we've got a couple sinks. So this is really this and this opening through the floor. This is on the 2nd floor. Would be really the only stationary items in this whole area. Everything else is intended to be flexible and movable. And so this would be an area where they could have kind of wet or project-based messy projects, let's say, with a wide variety of materials, some individual space, some large group presentations, use some interactive wall surfaces where you could have like a pegboard or a magnetic board. We talked to the students a little bit about green screen, and we're asking them, does it make sense for this to be a permanent, like painted on a wall, or would it make sense to be portable? And the feedback was, while it seems like it would be nice to have it on a wall, they liked the idea of having it, a portability aspect of it. So anyway, so that's essentially it for today. Does anybody have any other follow-up comments or questions?
I just had a question. Charlie Donahue. At one time we talked about some of the programs that are in some of the other schools that will be transferred to the new school. And at some time I'd like just to have to go over that a little bit. I think there's some special ed programs maybe that were going to be put in the new school, and just, what those programs might be that will be transferred.
Emily, do you want to talk about that?
Emily actually had to jump.
No,
Abby?
I'm back, ma'am.
Oh, she's back.
But so the program that we're transferring would be the WABA program, upper and lower WABA, which is currently housed at the Downey program. That's the Westwood Applied Behavioral Analysis program. And so that would be moving from Downey. The other specialized program that we're planning for this building, Focus, is currently housed at Deerfield. So it would be moving because Deerfield is now incorporated in there. So I think WABA is the only change. Abby, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misremembering.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful also, even just to explain what WABA is and how many kids would be involved.
Yep. Abby, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So, that programming supports students who use a special approach to learning called applied behavior analysis, that the acronym is ABA. So WABA stands for Westwood ABA. And we support students at the very early age as well as elementary, currently at the Downey School. And so for what Emily was saying, those program pieces will move to the proposed new school. And that program staff has had input and is attending those planning meetings that Rob referenced earlier in the meeting to give input on everything from bookshelf construction to dividers to play space, et cetera. So that program supports students who learn in very individual ways using a particular methodology called ABA.
And how many kids would be involved in that, Abby?
So it changes year to year. The majority of students, I would say we'd probably have between 20 and 22 students across the different layers of it. But the students are in small group, individual instruction, as well as attached to classrooms, grade level classrooms, Charlie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rob, I had one question, if that's all right. Going back to the, and it's just dad and me. On the second floor floor plan, there's a, I'm assuming it's for light, so you can go from the first floor to second floor. That's not a pass through, right? That's really like a window or a glass flooring. In the extended learning section, there was a blocked off piece, and it says, I just want to make sure that, let's say that you were playing catch and the ball you missed it and it went into the little square, that it wouldn't fall to the first floor right there.
Yeah, this is an opening through the floor. So the idea is that we've got skylights that we want to bring in to bring some natural light down into this sort of center space here. And what this does is also allows us to have this it's again creating this sort of connectivity between the different levels and different neighborhoods in the building. So you've got an opportunity for kids to make the sort of connection with kids on a different grade level. It also allows us to extend, the floor plan because we have a specific amount of square footage that we need to stay within according to MSBA. And so this opening allows us to extend the floor plan out and have more floor space. Because without it, we would need to make the extended learning areas much smaller, and so it's serving multitude of functions.
Oh, I'm with you. And it looks beautiful. Is it a glass wall or is it wide open? So like, you might want to check with Chief Deckers about having a wide open.
We've talked to him about this.
And he was okay with it?
Yep. His only concern was, with this, I mean, obviously he would prefer that we didn't have it. But he said, if you are going to have it, that the skylights, be designed so that, we've got the sprinkler system integrated in there and address the smoke aspect.
Oh yeah, I'm not talking about the skylights. I'm talking about that square right there. Could
Yeah,
kids
Rob,
fire
I'm
kids
not,
down
I'm just tuning into this now. I don't know how I missed this. Let's talk more about this. I'm not sure. I understand the concept, but if this is like a balcony, which is what it sounds like, I'm concerned for things falling through it. I'm also concerned about noise traveling from the first floor to the second and vice versa. Let's talk about this.
How about jumping from it?
Well,
no, kids would never do that. Mike.
I wasn't going there, Mike.
Well, I'm going there because it's a real safety concern.
Yeah.
How about repelling? That would be interesting and fun.
We have these in quite a few projects. I mean, it's really no different than stairway, where you would have a guardrail around the perimeter. We have seen schools that would like to raise the height above the standard 42 inches, which we've certainly done. But the idea behind these extended learning areas is that they are an active space. We're not designing them with the intention that they're quiet spaces for students to be in. There's a number of activities that are happening throughout here, and so there are acoustics that we are integrating into the ceilings and to dampen some of the sound. But we've always had these openings in we've kind of been toying around with the size of them and the number of them, but we've had them in the project all along.
Right. I thought it was a glass wall or something that would prevent going down. That was in a couple of the schools that we visited. They had glass walls, but there was one school that had multi-layered tiered roofs and everything was a glass wall going through. It's not like you could throw a football through.
So let me jump in for a second here. All those concerns I have definitely encountered them in different area, different jurisdiction has slightly different opinion. And in terms of safety wise, that if this is really a safety concern, that let's put it this way, building code is very conservative. And then the whole point of building code is making sure that the building is safe. And this is allowed under the building code and the fire code within Massachusetts. This is not to say that, yes, that there are some communities that have chosen to put in glass wall around it so that you cannot throw anything down. But certainly that it has not been a problem to the building of the state building, the organization that writes the building code have put it into the to change the building code on that.
Yeah.
Put a
Okay.
glass floor.
Right. So I think we have enough concerns that maybe we should review this a little bit further,
Yes,
Rob.
we can do that.
I don't think we need to take up time now that we do have the aesthetics committee subcommittee. But I think
quick comment, may I
Yeah.
just, I just wanted to, Rob, that last thing, that last scene, is that interactive board, is that like intended to be a video, a display screen, a video screen? Or is that just sort of a, what is that?
This is a placeholder for like a pegboard, for example, or a magnetic board type thing where students could interact with it.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. I just want to make sure we're intentional about where we put those, if it was more of a display, a video display. But that's fine, never mind.
May I ask a question? This is Brian.
Yep.
I think these extended learning spaces are very exciting for the school environment. I'm wondering on the district side, is there a team or decision makers who will sort of make the final decisions of what goes into these spaces? There's a lot of flexibility there.
So the idea behind these is we want to try and make them as flexible as possible, with intentional locations for, let's say, a marker board, or like along here, there's a screen that would come down along this outside wall with a built-in projector here. So, the intention is that you can use it for a larger group presentation. But as I mentioned, all of the furniture is movable and, can be changed from one year to the next, depending on, the teachers in that grade level grouping, how they want to organize things. And so it's really intended to be as flexible as possible.
Yeah, no, I understand. So in the budget
The
for
selection,
the project in day
right.
one, I'm wondering, will the design team make suggestions to the school district about what should be in here, and then the school district will decide? Because you could spend a lot of money in here outfitting this, and which is great, but we just want to make sure it's exactly what the education teams would want.
Yeah, I mean, I think this raises a bigger question of, when we get to the procurement phase of purchasing furniture and FF&E for the building, how is that going to be handled? And is that typically done by a different subcommittee, which clearly should have the district well represented there? Or is that an existing, so I guess that's just a question.
Yeah.
We would typically, so right now, these are really just placeholders. We would meet with all of the faculty and staff and develop a group, like you're saying, where we might go out and actually look at furniture and test it out. Maybe bring some students along as well.
Yep.
So it's a very thoughtful process in going through, and that typically wouldn't happen until we're into construction.
Right. And perhaps that just to step in here for a second in terms of sort of pulling all the idea together is that I think what Brian is implying is that perhaps the district need to think about who are the individual that's going to be directing the consultant on the furniture, and then vetting the use and how we use them, so that because the consultant, Rob's team, is going to be following the direction of the district, and they will give some examples, but then the district would need to also have may want to do a little research on their own to make sure that, and the other part is that this is a very different way of teaching that doesn't exist right now in the district, and so that's something that it would be good that if more thoughts are put in there.
Yep, sounds good.
I had a question. This is Charlie Donahue. At the last meeting, I did ask the question about have the committee to begin thinking about how this school could be a resource to the town and to the other schools. And the thing that drove me was once my kids went to an after-school program at the Hale Reservation, where the kids would go there, and they would go out and hike through the woods and do all kinds of interesting things. And so for For 6 years, the only things my kids ever talked about in science was everything they learned at Hale, wandering through the woods, tracking animals. They knew the name of every bird, so I just see this, we're sitting on this, one of the most beautiful places in Westwood for nature. And I'm just thinking, how could we be, in a way, getting the kids to take advantage of that, so the kids could become instructors to their families. They could bring their families back to walk through Lowell Woods because they're experts of the walking through there. Or other schools could be come in for a morning hike. So I'd like the committee to begin thinking about it. After I was told that the site outdoor design and education subcommittees would be looking into this, but I see this as a wonderful resource for the town and for kids that don't have these beautiful nature preserves right next to their school. So at some time, I'd like to follow up on that and get the committee's thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, and I think that will be part of the educational programming that goes into this school once we have it. But it's a very good point, and certainly something we want to offer to the district as wide.
And we actually had a little bit of that sort of conversation with the kids yesterday as well. One of them suggested, having some signage or interactive elements about talking about the animals in the woods and different aspects. And so it's a learning opportunity. But so it's all good. We're all thinking about that.
Yeah,
it's a good point, Charlie, to bring up.
Any other thoughts? Okay. So Rob, on the agenda, does that take care of user group meetings and outside group meetings? We're all set?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So unless there's final thoughts, I'm going to move on to action items. Nope. Okay. So the first we need, we're going to vote to recommend execution of the project scope and budget agreement. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to do a roll call. Ken Aries,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes, if it comes, I just had a question. This does come
Yeah.
recommended by whoever of the town or the school committee this comes as a recommendation as a vote to this committee, correct?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
I thought so. I just wanted to be clear about that.
Yes, it's standard procedure for the MSBA, and I've reviewed it. Town council has reviewed it. Select board has reviewed it.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so yes.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Chris Coleman,
Yes.
John Cummings,
Yes.
Charlie Donahue,
Yes.
Pam Dukeman,
Yes.
Mary Kate Ferreira,
Yes.
Jen Flanders,
Yes.
Abby Hanscom,
Yes.
Lemma Jn-baptiste,
Yes.
Josepha Jowdy,
Yes.
Carol Lewis,
Yes.
Tony Mullen,
Yes.
Emily Parks,
Yes.
Amanda Phillips,
Yes.
Mike Walsh,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. Motion is carried. Okay. Now we have a vote to approve the meeting minutes of May 7, 2021. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the minutes? Nope. Okay. Ken,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Mary Kate,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Abby,
Yes.
Lemma,
Yes.
Josepha,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Motion is carried. And our final action item is to approve payment of invoices for the period ending May 31st, 2021, totaling
Motion to- Sorry,
280, sorry, 200, you're jumping the gun, Mike. Totaling $280,971. This is for Dorr and Whittier and is part of this design development phase.
Oh, no, never mind. That's for Dora and Whittier. I'm not.
Oh, forget it.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
I get a, all right. Ken,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Mary Kate,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Abby,
Yes.
Lemma,
Yes.
Josepha,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Motion is carried. Okay, when we're back in person, that will go much faster. Is there any new business? Anyone have any new business they want to bring up? Nope. Okay, then I think all I need is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Anyone?
However you want to do it.
Okay, Ken,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Mary Kate,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Abby,
Yes.
Lemma,
Yes.
Josepha,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I am a yes. We are adjourned. Right on time. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and we'll get back at it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.